everyone, I'm Drew Goldfarb. Welcome to this edition of Betting for the Cycle. We're giving you 4 picks for upcoming baseball games, matchups, or prop bets, and trying to go 4 for 4 to bet for the cycle. So here's how this works for any first-time viewers. I'm going to be posing 4 potential wagers or daily fantasy comparisons. Our experts and I will each give you our picks and rank them based on how confident we are in the outcome. Least confident pick will be our single, most confident pick, the home run. We'll each have a pick we consider to be a home run, a triple, a double, and a single each and every week, giving us a chance at betting for the cycle. Individual stats have been tracked all season long. They will continue to be through the rest of the year, and you'll see those pop up on the screen as well. As always, I'm joined by Taylor Smith and Jim Baviglia. Guys, this week, we're beginning with a massive weekend series, a possible World Series preview, as the New York Yankees visit the Los Angeles Dodgers for a 3-game set. Taylor, which team comes away with a series win this weekend?
They let me down last weekend in Atlanta, but I'm going to go back to the well and take the Dodgers. I don't like that they're facing 2 lefties in Paxton and CC, but CC is not very good at this point in his career, so I'm not too worried about that. The Dodgers are 48-16 at home as of this recording. The Yankees are impressively 11 games over 500 on the road, but the Dodgers have been pretty much unbeatable at home, so I'll stick with LA, and it's my triple.
Jim?
Yeah, I'm actually mirroring Taylor on this one. I'm going to do LA with my triple as well. He mentioned the home record for the Dodgers. And the other thing I think is right now the Yankees, I think maybe are a half game ahead of them in the overall standings. But when you look at who the Dodgers are playing in the National League, I think there are like 6 teams 10 games under 500 in the American League. So I think the Yankees are beating up on a lot of those teams. The Dodgers have not faced that weak competition like the Yankees had, and yet the records are similar. So when you add that with the fact that the Dodgers are home where they've been so tough to beat, like I said, I'm going LA, and I'm also going with it as my triple.
We're going to be completely unanimous. It's interesting. I'm taking the Dodgers as my triple as well because the pitching matchups are about as good as LA could hope for with Ryu and Kershaw scheduled to pitch for this weekend. And then there's an unknown as far as what I could see last time pitching against CC Sabathia on Saturday. Yankees have that lineup. They've won 7 of the last 9 as of the recording. The Dodgers, meanwhile, have lost 3 out of 4 after a stretch where they won 9 out of 10. Yankees have scored the most runs in baseball, while the Dodgers have scored the most runs in the National League and have the best run differential of any team in the league in all of the majors. Picking LA cost me last weekend, as it did Taylor, but this series is in LA. I've got to go with the Dodgers again, and I'm still making it my triple, even despite what they did to me a week ago, stats-wise. For question 2, we turn to daily fantasy. Houston Astros host the Los Angeles Angels for 3 games this weekend. If you were going to pick a big bat from this series to play all 3 days in daily fantasy, would you rather take Yordan Alvarez or Mike Trout? We're not factoring in cost for the player, just performance, and we're looking for the player who has the better performances in at least 2 of the 3 games compared to the other. Jim, who are you taking?
It's amazing that we are even considering this as an even matchup. If we had considered this at the start of the year, people would have said we're crazy. That's how amazing Yordan Alvarez has been. Matchup-wise, there might be a couple lefties against Alvarez, but he's actually been just as good against lefties. He has been unbelievable at home in Houston, so that's in his favor. Trout has been as good against righties, actually better, and I think he's facing 2 out of 3 righties in the matchup. Trout also bats second, so he's going to maybe get an at-bat or 2 more each game, so that's a big thing. And I just think Trout also has a very good record against Zach Greinke. He has a very good record against Darren Sanchez, not so much against Wade Miley, ironically enough, but still righty versus lefty there, so I feel good about that. I just think in this case the experience wins out, and I feel pretty confident about it. I'm going to go with Trout, and I'm going to make it my home run.
I'm also taking Trout, also making it my home run. Alvarez has been impressive as a rookie. He debuted about 2.5 months ago. He's raked for a team that's already pretty loaded even before him, before he was added. 19 home runs through his first 53 games. He's averaging better than a run batted in per game. His batting average over 330. Mike Trout, meanwhile, the best player in baseball. He's top 40 home runs. He should top 100 runs scored and 100 RBI for the year as of this week. His batting average right around 300 for the season as well. One thing that's working against Trout is that he's going up against that dangerous Houston rotation until you factor in what Jim was mentioning and you realize that the projected starters for this weekend's games are Zach Greinke, which is tough, Wade Miley, who he struggled against but is still Wade Miley, and Aaron Sanchez. No Justin Verlander, no Garrett Cole. Alvarez is special, no doubt about it, but this matchup has to go to Trout, and it's my home run. Taylor, are we going to make it completely unanimous through the first two picks, or are you going to change it up at least a little bit here?
Yeah, we're hurtling down unanimity road again. I'm taking Trout. It's my home run. I was going to point out the Verlander Cole thing. I think that's huge. He's second in the majors in WOBA, first in weighted runs created plus, first in isolated slugging, on down the line. He's the best hitter in baseball. It's not even close. Alvarez has about half as many home runs in 65 fewer games, which is unbelievable. It's not unfathomable to think that he could, outdo Trout this weekend, but the safe play is Trout. So yeah, home run on Trout. I'm making it 3 for 3 for 3 for 3.
So for the third question, we're going to see if we can vary it at least a little bit. We each have singles and doubles left. I have a feeling the single for all of us is coming on the fourth one. But let's do another daily fantasy pick. The Chicago White Sox take on the Texas Rangers this weekend in Chicago. Rookie pitchers Dylan Cease and Kolby Allard are each projected to make a start during the series. Cease going on Friday, Allard going on Saturday. While you could theoretically play both pitchers on back-to-back days, assuming that order stays the same, which will have the better performance? I'm up first. I'm going with Cease. It's my double. As we've gone over before, strikeouts are the name of the game when it comes to pitchers in daily fantasy. In the majors this season, he struck out 41 batters in 44 innings on the mound. His AAA numbers had him striking out 73 in 68 and a third innings. He also typically pitches into the sixth, averaging 5.5 innings of work per start this year in the majors. Allard, meanwhile, a much smaller sample size, admittedly, but seems to have a lower pitch count than Cease, only throwing 91 and 93 pitches in his first two starts this year, while Cease tends to land right around the 100 mark. They're both rookies. Neither has any kind of track record of success to this point in their big league careers, so I'm only making it my double, but I'm taking Dylan Cease. Taylor, what about you? Are we still in agreement?
We are indeed. I'm taking Dylan Cease. Shockingly, it's my double. The White Sox have about a 22% K rate against lefties this season, but they do have power with Eloy Jimenez, Jose Abreu, Tim Anderson, Wellington Castillo. Texas is pretty shorthanded right now. We saw Nomar Mazar land on the IL today. They're about the same 22.5% strikeout rate against righties. It's not a terrible matchup for either of these guys. I do like your point about Cease generally having a longer leash. At least 95 pitches in all 8 of his big league outings to this point. He showed higher strikeout stuff in the minors than Allard did. So this one doesn't feel good, but I'm taking Cease. It's my double as well.
Jim, are we making it 9 for 9?
Yeah, as Taylor said, unanimity road. We're all living there right now. It's an interesting matchup, though. Allard, there's not a lot to go on. This is only his third start. Taylor mentioned the concern for me was really the matchup. You've got Jimenez and Abreu and Anderson and those guys up against the left-handed pitcher. Now, Cease has really been killed by left-handed hitters so far. But again, Taylor mentioned the Rangers are kind of shorthanded. They lose Mazzara, and their left-handed bats aren't that imposing to begin with. So even though I think, looking at them just head-to-head without any of that stuff involved, I think Allard might have been the more impressive pitcher so far. I think this one skews towards Cease, and yeah, I'm also making it my double.
So last one to complete the cycle, which would, at this point, we're all on the same page with everything. This is all of our singles because this is a single game pick, and not just a single game pick, but an incredibly unique and probably the most unique single game pick that we've at least ever done. Earlier this month, the Kansas City Royals and Boston Red Sox had their game suspended due to weather, with the game tied at 4 in the top of the 10th. In fact, when play resumes, there will be a 2-1 count to Mabrys Viloria with nobody out in the 10th. There is no second game. Both teams were set to have a day off on Thursday, but Major League Baseball decided to finish this game then, so neither team gets a day off instead. So, Taylor, which team will win this extra innings meeting? We all only have our singles left, so which side of this coin flip are you going on?
What's interesting is, so you said Viloria is set to lead off. Due up third is actually Billy Hamilton, who is now a member of the Braves, so that's kind of weird. But I feel like most of us are going to take the Red Sox just because they're the Red Sox, but I'll just hopefully try to be a little different. I'll take Kansas City. It's a complete crapshoot, so why not? It's my single.
Jim.
Yeah, first of all, Drew is sinister for actually including this as one of the wagers. I got a kick out of that too. I wonder if there are rules that can stipulate that Billy Hamilton, because he was on the roster for that game, if he can bat and then go back to the Braves. It's interesting. When I used to play slow pitch softball, when it was a tie game, we always said we had to hammer if we were batting last, and that always seemed like an advantage psychologically. So based on nothing other than that, the fact that Boston will have the hammer and the Red Sox.
Yeah, I'm glad Taylor switched sides because I'm also going with the Red Sox, and it's also my single. So at least we have that one. It's usually been my responsibility to do that in the last few weeks, but Taylor taking one for the team and switching sides for this one. Whose bright idea was this pick? This is ridiculous. I don't even know who to blame for this. Probably me. But anyway, this is my single as well, taking Boston. So here's what I'm looking at because we really have no idea what might happen. Kansas City resumes play batting from the 7-hole. Boston starts in the 5 spot. Neither in a really great spot in the lineup. The guy who's due up third, as was mentioned for KC, is Billy Hamilton, who they designated for assignment recently, then claimed off of waivers by the Braves on Monday. I don't know if that means that they'll, I wonder, I didn't think to look up to see if Atlanta's got the day off, but that would be really interesting to see him just throw on the old uniform. Maybe put on a Boston Braves jersey just to, so this way it covers both bases. Anyway, so I think the most interesting thing here is that the Red Sox are admitting all fans under 18 years old for free. Fans 18 and over get in for $5. If you had a ticket for that game, you're in your normal seat regardless. They're also doing a special discounted concession menu, selling hot dogs, cotton candy, popcorn, and stuff like that for $1. So if you live in the Boston area and we're planning on betting on this game, I'd say to just take that money and go to the game because it should be fun to hang around Fenway Park for batting practice. They're opening gates, I think, 2 hours early. Hang around, get some cheap concessions, get a cotton candy or some popcorn or a hot dog, spend $20 to take the whole family. That would be my recommendation. If you don't live in New England or you just really for some reason are desperate to bet on this game that starts with a batter already in the middle of a count in the top of the 10th, I'm taking the Red Sox. They're the better team, and they're making a fun situation out of this whole debacle. And that's as good of a reason as any when you're in this kind of sudden death situation. So, before we wrap things up, checking back in on our World Series picks, I've got Atlanta plus 420 to win the National League, Houston plus 170 to win the American League. At the moment, the Braves are plus 370, Astros minus 130. So I'll be sticking with what I've got. Yankees at plus 200 would be really intriguing right now if I hadn't jumped to Houston when I did, but I can't give up the value that I've already gotten on the Astros. Taylor, you've got the Astros locked in at plus 180, the Dodgers plus 170. I mentioned Houston at minus 130. LA now minus 140 to win the NL. That makes them the most heavily favored team in all of baseball. Any changes you'd like to make and jump away from one of the two heavy betting favorites?
The Yankees are interesting at plus 200 just because they have the best record in baseball right now. But obviously Vegas isn't fully buying that. They've been on the Astros since they got Greinke, and they haven't been amazing. They lost 3 of 4 in Oakland over the weekend, but I'm not going to let a little August swoon get me off the Astros. I'll just stick with what I have.
Jim, you've got the Astros and the Dodgers. You've got plus 170 on LA, plus 150 on Houston. Any changes for you?
No, I do believe that, the Yankees are better constructed for a long season than a short season. They have a lot of guys that are strikeout heavy, and you see a lot of strikeout pitchers in the playoffs. So I think you saw that in past years with them. And Houston with that big three, those are the guys that, the Yankees and whoever else faces them are going to have to go up against. Dodgers still seem head and shoulders above everybody, even with Atlanta having a good series. I just think, like I said last week, I thought Atlanta just wanted that series a little bit more. So I'm comfortable with what I have with the Dodgers and the Astros.
That'll do it for this week's edition of Betting for the Cycle. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Odds On Favorites YouTube channel. And check back next week. We'll show you the stats of how we did and give you our latest picks. For Jim Baviglia and Taylor Smith, I'm Drew Goldfarb. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.